We don't have a name for the monstrous creature that once inhabited Earth, but I'll never forget the night I came face to face with one 5 years ago. I was 14 at the time, still full of self-righteous rebellion. If only for the sake of it, my whole family have gathered for dinner on Christmas Eve, and everyone brought their own special dishes to contribute to tomorrow's feast. I was practically excited to try Grandpa's famous roast ham, a recipe he perfected over the years. Everyone was excited to see the predicted snowfall tonight, and wake to a pure white sheet gleaming against the morning sun. Until then, I had to sit through the unsufferable political banter that my family would throw at one another. Grandpa would chime in, always needing to be reminded them of his heroism during the last war when he faced three of the aforementioned nameless monsters alone. I began to have my doubts, and I actually called him on it. "What did they look like?" I asked him. "You never described them in detail." "It's the solemn vow of every soldier that lay eyes on them to never make deceptions of the creatures or speak their true name. They are meant to be forgotten, Chris, lost to history," Grandpa told me. "But you don't have any battle scars? I would imagine that you had to be hit at least once if you fought free at one time." "They were not overtly physical species. Their power came from the mind. In fact, through trickery and deceit, they nearly overtook the whole country, and we had not yet intervened and examined them," said Grandpa. "How could they? Did they look much like us?" I asked. Grandpa didn't respond. "Better think of something quick, old man. Your silence is telling," I mocked. My dad stood up with quite a fury and dragged me out of the door by the collar. He told me to sit on the porch and think about the things I said. Maybe the freezing cold would help me understand why Grandpa had to suffer through during the war. The wind blew harshly, blowing at my hair and face until I couldn't see anything but a long, tangled blonde mess. Even our flag that hung on the wall danced wildly to the gale. As I brushed my hair behind my neck, I was made distinctively aware of how cold it was. Without a jacket, I decided it was best to keep warm was to walk. It also gave me some satisfaction to think of my family's reaction should they find me gone. I made my way towards the metropolitan center of the Horst Weasel Sadet, our little borough of Berlin. Along with the way, I had imagined Dad's reaction to finding me gone from the porch. The thought of him deciding when it should be time for me to come back in, but finding I made my own way, I would have loved to see his face then. Would his head just exploded when he realized I wasn't bound up by their time? I came to the peak before the road sank into the thick, ornamented plaza, then rose again to the neighboring town. For a moment I wanted to stop and take in the sight, which I may never appreciate as much again. It was dark, even for 7 o'clock, but the Christmas decorations that hung over the trees, rooftops and streetlights created virtual ocean of artificial stars. I wanted nothing more than to dive in and become one with the nighttime sea, preferably with a pretty girl in my arm. For the first time, as in long as I could remember, I felt free. Before I fully made my way back into the center of town, I passed by the crumpled old building that rested in a small pocket of road behind the thick trees. I was told by many years ago that it had been condemned decades ago, but it was abandoned decades before that even. No one ever told me what it used to be, though maybe no one else knows. Perhaps Grandpa remembers, but there would be no prying secrets from that tight-lipped veteran. I may have even passed by it without a second thought, were it not for the dim light emanating from a distance. I had to get closer to ensure it wasn't my imagination. Of all the times we have driven by that place, I never saw anyone go in or out, as if it was preferable to forget. Part of me knew that I would find inside, but I could never have guessed how that night would have ended. I could see more clearly light behind the muggy window when I was only a few feet away from the building. From this distance, I could also see a moving shadow, which disturbed the light from the filling of the rest of the room. I was as hesitant to investigate, but my curiosity overcame my perturbation. and I searched for a way inside the building. The door and the windows had all been boarded up, but I was able to crawl inside through a patch of broken, decayed wood. A rancid smell permeated the air, as if the room had been coated in sweat and rotten flesh. The air felt damp, and it was wonder that the roof above me hadn't collapsed ages ago. I traced my hands along the wall until I came upon an open threshold. When I peeked through around the corner, I could see the candlelight that first drew me into the building, and the silhouette creature kneeling before it. It was far away on the opposite side of the room, but I could see that small silver candelabra. One candle on the far right was higher than the rest, and the three others were lit, leaving five empty slots on the left side. The creature whispered something incomprehensible into the darkness, and I wanted to listen more closely. I stepped carefully past the threshold, but stopped as a plank of floorboard creaked under my foot. The creature suddenly fell silent and turned in my direction, still cloaked in the shadow. I was paralyzed, certain that I had been caught, but it must have not seen me, as it turned back around to sit in silence. With long, quiet breath, I knelt down to feel the floorboard that groaned heavily. To my surprise, it was loose and was connected to two other floorboards, opening up like a trapdoor. I carefully sank down into the crawl space below, which was only high as the width of my body, such that I could barely turn over from my back to my stomach. The creature didn't seem to notice when the floorboards were sealed, and continued to whisper indiscernible speech. I crawled through the moist, dirty ground on my elbows, within the earshot of the words it spoke. I was unnerved when I could plainly hear them, as it was harsh, alien tongue with elongated vowels and rolling consonants. Their meaning was lost to me, but the ritual mannerisms of this creature gave me an inkling to me that it was verbal protestations to some unknown outer god. I turned over onto my back to peer through the cracks of the floorboards. The creature silenced once again, taking in a long breath. It stood up, and once more features became slightly illuminated by the candelabra. Scraggly gray hair and bone-thin claws almost prominent among them. I shuddered when it called out to me in clear and unnatural German. "I smell you, boy," it growled. I quickly rolled back onto my stomach, fearing it might see the whites of my eyes through the floorboards. "Come on out," it continued. My heart raced, adrenaline fueling every nerve in my body. I focused on my breath, inhaling and exhaling as deeply and slowly as possible, barely letting any air pass through my nose. The creature paced back and forth through the room, letting its boots fall heavily on the floorboards. I could feel the vibration of every step through my back when I heard the stomping came to a halt directly above me. I held my breath and squeezed my eyes tightly. I waited for that thing to rip open one of the floorboards and pull me away for a meal or burnt it, offering it to its god. "We have all night," it said as it slumped back into its altar. During its meditation, I inched my way over the wall and to peer outside through the planks. Snow was beginning to fall, and the tiny flakes were clinging desperately to the blades of grass before my eyes. This was the moment my family had been waiting for, and I wondered if Dad already noticed I was gone. "What's your name, boy?" said the creature, in a more calm demeanor. I said nothing, as I knew that this creature was. Grandpa had warned me that they are little monsters that manipulate the mind, and I would not be fooled into giving away my hiding place. "I am Matty," it said. "Do you want to know what these candles mean to me?" It paused, as if waiting for my response. Still I remained silent and allowed it to tell its story. "My people pay remembrance to the millennia-old miracle. A light must always persist in the temple. You see, but the warriors of Hellas extinguished the flames and replaced our relics with idols of their own gods. These barbarians called themselves civilized. My ancestors took arms and broke down the bronze-clad army, welding into the mighty hammer, Maccabeah. They cleansed the temple and went back to the task of lighting the candelabra. More oil would have been made, and which would remained could only burn for one night. It continued to burn for 8 days. My people were one of the hope and determination. Against all opposition, our candle stays lit, even after our countrymen marched in our homes and exterminated us like vermin. Here I remain with the light that drew you here, and now you hide underneath the floorboards just as I once did some 70 years ago. Indeed, I was only meant to frighten you, that you can only experience with the heavy boots over your back are the same as I, but this light draws those who are willing to see. You would not even come if the light would not burn you within. Matty bowed his head and sighed, climbing to his feet. Just before he crossed the threshold to leave me alone, I poked my head out from the trapdoor. Chris, I said. I caught my first true glimpse of Matty as he turned around and looked down to face me. That's my name, Christian Stemmer. Strangely, I was unafraid of the dark eyes that met mine, nor of that wrinkled face covered by unkempt gray hair. I only saw an old man shaped into a monster by the rest of the world. Bless you, Christian, for bearing this torch. The light is not carried by oil or parentage. It is carried in the heart, said Matty. His words never left me since that night. They rang in my head as I ran back home. Even as I stood once more at the peak of the road, I glanced over town, still sparkling with Christmas lights, this time accentuated by the first layerings of snow. Presentably as the wind was steady, I could clearly see the Wasiska in our country's flag mark that I was home once again. I never told my family about Matty, and I don't think I ever will. It even took me some time to fully understand, but I hope another is out there willing to carry the memory. I think Matty is hopeful too. When I come back to the Horst Weasel so studied it just the other day for New Year's celebrations. As I passed by the old lonely temple and saw 9 candles burning brightly in the window, lights that burn for generations. A miracle indeed.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.